Corner Outfield Part 2, 10-1. Now we get to the best of the best when it comes to maybe the most loaded position in baseball because there's two of them, right and left. Jack Peter, Just Baseball Show. As always, it is brought to us by BetMGM. What'd you say the new slogan was? Sportsbook born in Vegas?
The sportsbook born in Vegas. It's got a nice ring to it. I like the king of sportsbooks, but sportsbook born in Vegas, I like that one too. And remember, folks, use code JustBaseball to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If you're thinking about wagering on the Super Bowl, maybe you don't normally make that many bets, perfect time to take advantage. Because again, if your first bet loses, you'll get up to what you put on it, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. It's a good time to take advantage, though.
Yeah. And I saw Colby was sending us odds for the first song Kendrick plays and if Travis is going to propose to Taylor. So it seems like there's a niche market out there for that, if that's your cup of tea. We are going to get into 10-1 on this list today, obviously being Wednesday, February 5th. But before we do that, got some news about Pat Hoberg. Some of you may know him as Perfect Pat, the guy that called a perfect game in the World Series. And it's not an announcer, it's not a pitcher, it's an umpire. He did not miss a single call by umpire scorecards, umpire auditor, all that jazz. Pat Hoberg officially fired by Major League Baseball in the midst of a gambling storm. It's a complicated story, but the 411, and I know you can get a little bit deeper into this, is that he was sharing a legal betting account on like a legal sports book, like a BetMGM or a FanDuel or DraftKings, whatever it may be. He was sharing that with who I believe is a professional gambler. And I'm just looking at some of the numbers reported by the Associated Press. Major League Baseball said the friend that he was sharing accounts with made 141 baseball bets between April 2nd, 2021 and November 1st, 2023, totaling almost $214,000 with an overall net win of nearly $35,000. So Pat Hoberg was sharing an account with a guy who was betting on baseball. There was no empirical concrete evidence that it was Pat himself that was betting on baseball on legalized sports books, but Pat unfortunately caught up in this and he was let go. It seems careless to me, to the untrained eye, to share an account with somebody like this. And listen, anybody in Major League Baseball, you should not be doing this under any circumstances whatsoever. You have a little bit more of a feel on this and why he would be sharing an account with a professional gambler?
Yeah. So I know it sounds weird. You see a guy, he's been fired for sharing betting accounts with a friend who bet on baseball, even though there is no evidence of Pat Hoberg actually doing it.
Yeah, but it's the same account.
Exactly. In the professional gambling sphere, a lot of guys use every single sports book available that is legal in order to get the best line, right? If one book has plus 110 and another book has plus 100, you want an account on that other book in order to bet the plus 110 line on the same outcome, right? In order to get better value. But sometimes when these sports bettors, especially what you're saying, he made $35,000. He made 141 bets, totaling about $200,000 in bets. That means his unit size is likely over $1,000, which tends to only happen when you are a professional gambler. And professional gamblers, when they're consistently winning on these sports books will then come in and limit them. They will say, we don't want your action. So on some accounts, a guy could normally have a $1,000 unit size, which basically is the average amount of money a guy puts on a bet. But if a sportsbook says, you know what, you're winning too much, what we're going to do, you're only allowed to put $100 down. So that person basically kind of loses that account, right? Because they can't put the amount of money that they want on a singular bet. So what does that professional bettor then do? He will go to his friends who do not bet on baseball, right? Have no relationship with the book. And they will say, can I make bets under your name on this book? And a person like Pat Hoberg, who doesn't bet at all and who is banned from betting, so he knows he can't even place a bet even if he wanted to, says yes. you can use my account because I am not going to be placing any bets. So that's what I think happened here is that this professional gambler is likely using Pat Hoberg's account, is likely using other accounts to get money down. That's what I think it comes down to. So I'm not surprised that Pat Hoberg has nothing to do with betting on baseball because he was likely letting this professional gambler use his account. And what we do know about Pat Hoberg is he is one of the best umpires in Major League Baseball. So
He
there,
was the best umpire in Major League
right?
Baseball.
So there is no rigging games when your strike zone is 98%
Okay,
perfect.
I understand, but it's the premise, and Pat
Oh
should
yeah.
have. That's
I'm not
such a
saying it's a good thing. I
yeah.
want to
No, no,
also
no.
be clear. I,
And
I'm
and
just yes.
you're also not saying like let's exonerate this guy, like he's
Not at
innocent.
all. This is
Like
a massive mistake. Massive.
massive.
Because
And
Pat
I
Hoberg,
think
you should know that your name cannot be associated with gambling when you are an arbiter of fairness on the baseball field.
yeah.
Point blank period should have been fired was the right thing for Major League Baseball to do. I'm just giving you guys a opening the door into the professional gambler life
Yeah.
when they get limited by the sports book, so they're forced to use other people's accounts to get that money down.
And that is welcomed clarity, and I appreciate that you provided that clarity. But I want to circle back and say he should have never said yes in the first place. That's such a bad mistake from Pat, and like the fact that it happened is terrible. And this is the right thing by Major League Baseball because at the end of the day, you cannot prove that he had any stake in this or not, but it was under his account. So really sucks that maybe I don't want to say inarguably, arguably the best umpire in Major League Baseball in Pat Hoberg is not umpire another Major League Baseball game. He was fired, understandably so, rightfully so by Major League Baseball, and it sucks. Just a brutal mistake that caused irreparable damage from maybe the best umpire in baseball. And I saw a lot of people dunking on the bad umpires, like, "Oh, why couldn't this happen to them? Why couldn't this happen to
And
them?"
and
I
and
I,
it's
I hear
can I
you.
can I say one
Yeah,
thing? The
yeah.
tweet saying that I'd like to let Major League Baseball know that Angel Hernandez is sharing a betting account with me. They aren't funny. Stop tweeting them, everybody on YouTube. They're not funny at all.
Man,
I did laugh at any of them.
it's just a bad situation, and glad that we got some closure on this because it was very odd to not see Pat Hoberg calling games in 2024. We found out why about May or June, I want to say, of 2024, and now we have closure on this whole deal. So really unfortunate mistake.
Can you imagine if we get to robo umps in 2035, but AI is so advanced that these robo umps are actually also placing bets too, and we're just all screwed as a world?
Yeah, but I think it'll be universally legalized at that point. So, like, I don't know what you can do with these robots.
Like
Also, if AI is trying to make money, like that's some ex machina type stuff.
Robot 22A, who umpired games
Yeah,
in May and June in
his
Major
unit
League
size
Baseball,
got up to $500.
is gambling on Japanese ping pong at 3 in the morning.
Just
Not
brutal.
ideal. Not an ideal
Not
situation, but you can understand why someone like a Pat Hoberg may say, "Oh, yeah, you can use my betting account," and why that is a massive, massive mistake, and
he should have
deservedly
known. He
so. He
should have
should have
known
known.
better.
Should
Should have
have
known
known.
much better.
Yeah.
So, outfielders.
Outfielders, let's get into it. This list is sick. This list is freaking awesome. And if you are watching us on YouTube, the best way to support all of these lists that we've done and for the rest of our lives, make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and comment down below. What do you think of the top 10 of the corner outfield list? And just a reminder for everybody listening on audio, rate and review 5 stars. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, but also you can read along with the article on justbaseball.com, going through all the analysis as you listen or after the fact or whenever the hell you want.
Yep. I have evens, right? You have odds.
No, I have evens.
Okay, then go ahead with number 10. Man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
And actually, before we get to number 10, let's run through 20 to 11, by the way, because that was the last episode. If you didn't listen to the last episode, we had some honorable mentions that we discussed. The honorable mentions in the corner outfield position, they were Nolan Jones of the Rockies. There were Wilyer Abreu of the Red Sox, Taylor Ward of the Angels, Lars Nootbaar of the Cardinals, and Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers. Number 20 was Jurickson Profar of the Braves. Number 19, Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 18 was Tyler O'Neill, the newest Baltimore Oriole. 17, Randy Arozarena, deadline acquisition last year by the Seattle Mariners. 16, Brandon Nimmo, Wyoming's finest. 15 with Colton Cowser of the Orioles. 14, Wyatt Langford, a guy that I am really, really high on in year two with the Texas Rangers. Anthony Santander, the newest Blue Jay, was number 13. Number 12, Lawrence Butler of the A's. Breakout in 25 or not? That's for you to decide. And number 11 was Ian Happ of the Chicago Cubs. Take us into 10, Petey Boy.
Number 10 on the corner outfielders list, Riley Green of the Detroit Tigers, coming off a career year as a 23-year-old. Hit 262, 348, 479 for 24 home runs, walked a ton, 11% walk rate, 135 WRC plus, 35% better than the league average hitter while putting up a 4-win season. I was the high guy at number 9, tied with Leo Morgenstern. Eric, Fink, and Arm both had him at 10. You had him at 12.
Yeah.
And my goal is to convince you that Riley Green is a bit underrated in your rankings.
Okay.
So, a big reason why I like Riley Green is he continues to improve every single season. And that's what you love to see from a guy who came up as a 21-year-old and now will be 24 by the start of next season. He's lowered his strikeout rate every season, highest walk rate, right, all the way up to 11%, lowered his ground ball rate every single year, while seeing an increase in barrel rate every single season. So a comparison with a player that you really love, that I wanted to bring and I really love, Riley Green versus Michael Harris.
Okay.
Michael Harris is one of our favorite center fielders in baseball.
Yep.
We talk about him all the time, how much we love him. And even when I see Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, anything on social media say that Michael Harris is going to be a breakout pick, what say you? Not really a breakout because he's already awesome, right? We both agree with that. We both love Michael Harris. Michael Harris and Riley Green are 6 months apart in age. 6 months. In the last 2 seasons, from 2023 and 2024, Michael Harris has 9 more plate appearances. Riley Green has the higher FWAR, more home runs, more RBIs. He has a higher WRC plus by 21 points, 129 to 108. He has an 813 OPS to a 768 OPS for Michael Harris with a better strikeout to walk ratio, right? Because Michael Harris, we love him, doesn't strike out. Riley Green strikes out a little bit, but it's been trending in the right direction. But Michael Harris only walks at a 4.8% rate. Riley Green is up there at 11%. So if we're looking at the bat over the last 2 seasons at relatively the same age, through the same amount of games, plate appearances, Riley Green has soared past him. And when you look at how he's improved every single year, he's on an upward trajectory, while Michael Harris, unfortunately, is on a downward trajectory. So now as a 24-year-old, a guy who in Comerica, where we always talk about it's so hard to hit, it gets in the cold, it's so hard to get the ball out of the ballpark. Guy had 24 home runs, right? He was able to get the ball out of the park at just 23. This guy improves in every single facet of the game, every single season, and is coming off a 4-win season. This guy is just going to be one of the better young baseball players in the game, in my opinion. I think you're just a little bit too low there at 12. But again, 12.
12. I really like Riley Green, and I think really like is 12. But, there are some guys that I personally think, like, I think Wyatt Langford will have a better year than Riley Green because I think Wyatt Langford is more explosive than Riley Green is. I feel like Green has lost some of that hyper athleticism in his game over the last couple of years that I was expecting when he was making his way through the minor leagues. And I saw this guy right after he was drafted in short season ball, and I said, "You're just the best player on the field. Nobody's close to you right now." And he was 18 years old at the time. He found a home in left, which is really important. He graded out as one of the better left fielders in Major League Baseball defensively last year. In 23, he was bouncing around a little bit between center, right, left. 22, we were still trying the center field thing. He's not a center fielder. And I feel like that could have subconsciously docked him just a little bit for me because this was a guy that I viewed as a center fielder and I had to deviate from there versus a guy like Langford. I still think he could hold his own in center if he wanted. He just happens to be in left because Carter will be better in center field. So Green, I guess I might have subconsciously docked him just a little bit for the defensive stuff, but if he's grading out that well in left, I think he's a heck of a lot better than Ian Happ, who's just a spot behind him. I also thought the stolen base was going to be a little bit more present in his game. Like he swiped 4 bags last year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I would like to see 15 from you. The other thing, and I think the biggest thing for me, you make the comparison between Green and Harris. Harris is coming off the unhealthiest year of his career. Green is coming off of the healthiest year of his career.
That's why I included 2023 as well.
Yeah.
And again, I pointed to Harris only has 9 more plate
Yeah.
appearances in that 2-year sample.
Yeah, and important to point out that Riley Green has spent time on the injured list in 22,
Yes.
23, and 24. So
Mhm.
I think durability and maybe some underlying bias when it comes to defensive ability docked him just a little bit, but I really like him.
Yeah, really like him too. 72nd percentile now, it's above average. He was slightly better in terms of the range. And yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to see the stolen bases come up, but I still think there's more in here, right? I mean, in 2023, I know he was injured a little bit, but the guy did hit 288, 349. Like, I think that batting average, if it's in the 275 to 285 kind of range, and he's slugging near 500, and he's playing pretty good defense, and he's hitting close to 30 home runs. I mean, that's one of the better corner outfielders in baseball, and that's, I think, what we expect from him in 2025, which is why he is a top 10 guy for us.
Yeah, no doubt, man. All right, let's get to number 9 here. And number 9 is back where he belongs after he was amazing over the course of the 2024 season. Teoscar Hernandez is an LA Dodger again, and he is our ninth best corner outfielder in Major League Baseball for 2025. Numbers on Teoscar: 154 games last year, 272, 339, 501 slash. He slugged over 500. 33 homers in RBI shy of 100. He swiped 12 bags. He had a 134 WRC plus and a 3.5 win season. 3 people were the high guys on him. Aram, Eric, Fink all had him at 9. Leo had him at 11. You and I both had him at 10. Consistency is what puts him ahead of Riley Green, and I probably docked Riley Green to the point where he fell behind Teoscar Hernandez. But what I do think you will acknowledge is this guy might hit 40 this year, and he might be the 6 hitter for the LA Dodgers.
One thing I can't acknowledge is that this guy fucking rakes.
He
He
rakes.
rakes. So, right, we remember him in Seattle. That's why he signed a 1-year deal with the Dodgers. He was 30 years old at this point, and he puts up a 106 WRC plus. And we think to ourselves, oh, maybe is Teoscar kind of trailing off a little bit? No, I think at this point we could say, no, that was an outlier because he was hitting in a ballpark that is better for pitchers last year than it was Coors Field for hitters.
Yeah.
And he put up a down offensive year. 2020 with the Blue Jays, he was a 142 WRC plus guy, then a 132, then a 130. And then he has that down year with Seattle, and then he can actually see the ball, and he goes for 33 home runs, 12 stolen bases, and a 134 WRC plus. There's not a lot to add on Teoscar Hernandez. What I know is that when he's up at the plate against left-handed pitching in particular, but just in general, in a big spot, that's a guy who you want. But the reason I put up Riley Green just a spot above him is because
Yep.
I feel like Riley Green is a more dynamic player at this point, right? I'd prefer him in the field. Even though Teoscar stole more bases, I think that Riley Green's speed is going to end up winning out, but maybe not, right? Maybe not. And then when we're looking at the bat, Teoscar Hernandez 134 to Riley Green 135, but Riley Green continues to improve every year, but Teoscar just does it every year. So could Riley Green go above? I think so. That's why I put him just a
Yeah.
spot above because I believe in these continued improvements. But
Sure.
here's the thing. Like Teoscar just does that every year with the bat.
Yeah, well, and
So
I think the other important thing that not many people are going to note is we can't look at Teoscar in a vacuum here. Teoscar versus Riley Green. Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter are the two guys that every opposing starting pitcher is circling in that lineup. Teoscar's the fifth guy that you're circling in the Dodger lineup. He has exponentially more protection. More guys are going to need to go after Teoscar than they will Riley Green. And that could open up the floodgates for Teoscar Hernandez.
yeah, I also love Teoscar because he's so clutch.
He's
Like I
so
thought,
clutch. And like, I will say, maybe some underlying bias with that home run derby performance. I mean, he was putting on a laser show in Arlington. I loved watching his derby performance.
he wasn't even trying. And I bet against him in the Derby, and I'm just sitting there like, why? This isn't fair. He's like barely swinging. He's not hitting him 500 feet, but he's hitting every ball 430.
And he was hitting every ball
Pretty.
112 or
I
114,
was like,
whatever it was.
aren't you supposed to be too old to hit the trends that we've been developing over the last 4 years?
No,
No, he was fine, and I
he
think
was
that just
fine.
goes to show that Teoscar Hernandez, he ain't old. Like,
Yeah.
I think that our minds think so because he's been in baseball for so long. At least mine. I'll just speak for myself. I always think Teoscar's 34, 35. No, he isn't. He's 32 and he's perfectly fine. He's going to be 32. He was 31 last year. And
Yeah.
again, just to tie a bow on this, 120 career WRC plus, 124 in the playoffs. Gets a
Every
little
year.
bit better every
Every
year.
year.
No, but the thing is, like,
Except
he's a
Seattle.
he's a 120 career guy. He's been better than that over the last 5 seasons, except Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say. He's just going to rake for the Dodgers for a long time. Damn it.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right. Let's get to number 8 on the corner outfield list, Stephen Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians. We love Stephen Kwan over here. He's coming off a year where he only played 122 games, but he was still great. 292, 368, 425 slash line, 14 home runs, 44 RBIs, 12 stolen bases. He walked more than he struck out, 131 WRC plus, 4.1 FWAR. We were all around the same. Leo was the high guy at 6. You were the low guy at 9, but Eric
Low guy at
Fink,
9.
exactly. Eric Fink, myself, and Arm all had him at 8. So all of us have him as a definitive top 10 corner outfielder in Major League Baseball.
Hell
So I want to walk through Stephen Kwan's season because it was awesome and then it wasn't. And I think I know why it wasn't. So pre All Star break, we remember how good Stephen Kwan was.
yeah.
He slashed 352, 407, 512 for a 919 OPS. He had 23 walks to 25 strikeouts with 9 home runs. So we're looking at a corner outfielder who's playing great defense that's hitting 350, who's on pace for 18 to 20 home runs. And then post All-Star break, 206, 316, 302 for a 618 OPS, only 5 home runs. What happened? And to give credit to Stephen Kwan, he still walked more than he struck out. Placed on the IL in September for back inflammation, right? And what does back inflammation tell you, Jack? Because what it tells me, he was dealing with it for a long time, and then it got to be hurting himself too much, so they
Mhm.
had to put him on the IL, that he was fighting through this. My evidence of that in the playoffs over 10 games, he slashed 381, 458, 405 for an 863 OPS with 6 walks and 4 strikeouts when he came back healthy against the best pitching in the playoffs. So that's my evidence is I think in the second half he was dealing with a back issue. And for anyone who's ever dealt with a back issue, like if I was dealing with a back issue, it'd be hard to podcast rather than hard to play baseball at the highest level. So he's a top 5 player in baseball before he gets injured. Like that slash line with that kind of defense, with that base running, with that place discipline, he was a top 10 player in baseball before he got hurt. Then he has a back injury, and then he comes and outdoes it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Stephen Kwan is the player, I think. Of course, you watch Judge and you watch some of these incredible players, but
Yeah.
is there a better leadoff hitter in Major League Baseball than Stephen Kwan? Like, I think Stephen Kwan is on a short list of players that every fan base would absolutely love on their team, right? Everyone has their favorite team. They see the guys who strike out too much. They see the guys who don't play great defense. They see the guys who are slow on the base pass, and they might have good numbers, but they might not be fan favorites. Stephen Kwan is a fan favorite in Cleveland for a huge reason, and he'd be a fan favorite on every single team. This guy should be the player that everybody in baseball loves. Everybody. Like, doesn't have
Yes.
one hater. Stephen
It,
Kwan's
it's
the man.
it's funny how polarizing Arias is and how not polarizing Kwan is. And I think it's because Kwan, you see a Gold Glove left fielder, and he hit what 14 home runs this past year.
Yeah.
Like,
But again, he was on pace for 18 to 20, but then he got hurt. He had a back injury.
yeah,
So he did hit 14 home runs, which is a career high, but he was on pace for more. I mean, there it is. Like
selling
the
out for
reason
Pop is a 9.8% K rate or
exactly
9.4% K rate, whatever it
the
is.
the reason people get on Luis Arias so much is because Luis Arias is a one tool player. And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one tool is amazing, but that one tool can get overrated
right.
when you compare him to Tony Gwynn.
Yeah,
Right? Stephen Kwan is a step below Luis Arias in that one tool,
yeah, but everything else is, yeah, I mean, Galaxy's better.
but then he hit for more power.
Right,
And he's a way better defender. And he's a way better base runner.
right.
So yeah, he's a step behind Luis Arias in the contact department, right? Luis Arias only struck out 29 times last year. You know who was second? Stephen Kwan with 51. I mean, there you
I
go.
know your question was rhetorical about leadoff hitters in Major League Baseball. Who is a better leadoff hitter than Stephen Kwan? The cop-out answer is Ohtani,
Oh,
obviously.
true. Yeah, he's pretty
So
good. He's pretty
Ohtani
good.
exists, but aside from that, it's really like choose your flavor, Kwan or Schwarber, I think.
I'm taking Kwan every day of the week. I'm
For
sorry,
the
Philly.
table setting purposes, I
No,
understand, but
just as a player.
for the immediate blitz, you're up 1-0. Like some people may say, I would love to have Schwarber at the top of my lineup because
Cool.
there's a chance he opens 30 games with a homer.
Agreed. That's awesome. I love Schwarber. Love watching Schwarber play.
But I
I
will
mean,
take Kwan because I'm a traditionalist when it comes to the leadoff spot.
I will just take Kwan no matter what. I don't care about being traditional and
I
non-traditional. Like Stephen
understand. No,
Kwan's a
the
better
value
player.
of Kwan is much,
Yes,
much higher than Schwarber.
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So there's just some people that would be like, oh, I would love to start my day off with a bomb all the time. And I
And you
get
know
it.
what? I get that. I
I
get
get it.
that. I love Schwarber. I'm there, but
I,
Kwan's better.
I think this guy could be a fringe all-star, two all-star every single year.
Mhm.
And there's going to be years where Schwarber's not sniffing it. There are going to be years where 20 leadoff hitters in Major League Baseball are not even sniffing it. But he's always going to be in the conversation because the floor is so insanely high and he continues to elevate the ceiling year after year after year.
And we're talking what Kwan did last year is kind of a breakout when it comes to power year and him really developing himself as a player. Like I think he got even burned last year. I think he could be better than his breakout year that he had last year.
Yeah, I could see it. I could totally see it, man. But let's go to a guy that broke out in the second half of last year. Number 7 on our list is Jackson Chorio of the Milwaukee Brewers. Me, Eric, Fink. High guys at 6. Leo, the low guy at 10. You and Aram had him at 7. The numbers for Chorio 148 games, 275, 327, 464 slash, 21 homers, drove in 79, 22 stolen bases, a 117 WRC plus, and a 3.9 win player. I just want to break it into two halves. And I'm not doing all star break. I'm actually doing 2 months and then 4 months because Chorio was dreadful for 2 months and then he was amazing for 4 months. First 50 games of Jackson Chorio's career, he had a 61 WRC plus, hit 210, and his cumulative F WAR across those 50 games, zero point 0. Then the calendar flips to June 1st, and Jackson Chorio, in his final 98 games, hit 303 with a 142 WRC plus and accumulated all 3.9 F4. He was one of the best players in Major League Baseball after the calendar flipped to June. And by WAR, he was the 17th best player in Major League Baseball once the calendar flipped to June. He was better than Bryce Harper. He was better than Willie Adames. He was better than Ian Happ. He was better than Santander. He was better than William Contreras. He was better than Marcelo Zuna, than Cowser, than Riley Green, than Teoscar Hernandez, than Freddie Freeman, than Rafael Devers. I mean, we saw a young god be born. And the postseason, albeit it was only 3 games, this kid's here, man. Like Langford is trying to get to tier two. I think Chorio's in tier two.
He kind of fired me up. I'm not going to lie. He was born in 2004.
Yeah.
For everybody listening, I know we have some older people listening. 2004, this guy was born. He's 20. He just figured it out. I mean, it took him 2 months, and I mean, that's the level of freak talent that we're looking at here. And I remember watching him early because I was so excited to watch. I was like, because we were already told that this guy was going to arrive. Not necessarily by Aram or you, but I'm just talking about the general MLB talk about Jackson Chorio.
Industry. He was a top 5 prospect in baseball
Exactly.
consensus.
So when I first saw him, I'm like, okay, this guy's a little bit overrated, Jack. Like he's chasing a lot. His defense wasn't great. I was like, I
Look,
thought he could play center, but he's playing a corner. I'm like, hey, dude,
from
this guy's a little bit overrated.
from opening day until May 31st, he looked like he was born in 2004.
I was like, okay, so this is just a little bit better than Jackson Holiday. You know, like
Yeah.
this isn't really that great. And then, oh fuck, someone told him to just wait for your pitch. Or
Yeah.
someone told him something. Because the adjustments that he made as a 21-year-old, and it wasn't just a short-term adjustment where he got a little bit hot and that made his overall numbers look good, right? It was just for 2 months. No, no, no. Something clicked at 20 years old, and then he just rode it into being then one of the best players in the postseason, right? We're watching Brewers games, them take on the different teams. And we're like, is he not the, right? The Brewers Mets, is he not the second best player on the field to Lindor? Or William Contreras, is he third? And it's like, wait, this is not supposed to happen this quick. The maturity combined with the freak talent. I totally understand why you're trying to get him up this list. I understand why everybody else is. I just didn't know how to rank him because I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
but you ranked him appropriately. You had him at 7.
I know, but there was parts of me I was like, he could be better than this. I mean,
Yeah.
I just placed him at 7 because I got scared. I got scared of the talent that could be. So I put him at 7 because 7 is my cop out spot when I'm ranking guys.
Yeah.
It's like you're not top 5. There's normally like a cool veteran who's 6 that it's like, well, you've done it a long
Yeah.
time, like a Bregman. And then 7, I'm like, that's the guy who I'm afraid
Yeah,
of.
7 is my statement. That's my
Jackson
statement.
Chorio is the guy I'm afraid of because he could be even better than my hyperbolic ass can talk about him.
You're right. Right. That's my thing with Chorio. It's like we may be scraping the surface of what he can do. He could swipe 40 bags in a given
Oh yeah,
season, and he could continue to level up defensively. The defense was kind of an adventure at points in 24, but if he shores it up, he could become an elite defensive right fielder, and he's a threat for 30-30 as soon as this year. Like he may just be scraping the surface. I think he got pretty deep under the surface after the All-Star break in particular, but man, like just running you through the monthly OPS. April, 24 games of 557 OPS. May, 23 games of 542 OPS. And then it was like that in June, man. June, 315 with an 897. July, 317 with an 876. August, 321 with a 926. And September, 263 with an 831 OPS. Like, dude, I don't know. Why
there.
can't he have a 900 OPS this year?
Why
Why
can't he
can't
go
he level
higher?
up defensively?
Yeah, why can't he continue to get better defensively? Because right, don't you agree with me though? When you were watching him early, wasn't he not that great defensively?
Yeah, he was
He
just
didn't
kind of
look it.
lost, and I still think there's some meat on the bone there defensively because he's a freak athlete. I don't think it's the Acuna conversation when it comes to maybe investment on a pitch by pitch basis, but all the tools are there to beat Tatis and Wright. Like, just beat Tatis and Wright. Easier said than done.
You're totally right. To your point, 97th percentile in sprint speed. He's as fast as anybody. He
Yeah,
was in the 89th percentile of outs above average last year and the 81st percentile in arm value. So he's got a
yeah,
cannon and he's fast as shit. He could easily do whatever he wants out there. That's why I was
right.
surprised. And then something clicked and he was like, wait a minute, I am like the best player. And then he just was
Yeah,
at 20. He was born in 2004.
yeah. I'm excited for what's to come, dude.
He's so good. All right, let's get into number 6. Jaron Duran of the Boston Red Sox. 160 games, 285, 342, 492. It's a good looking slash line. 21 home runs, we'll take that. 34 stolen bases, we'll take that. And one of the best WAR accumulators in the sport, 6.7 F WAR, was a top 10 guy in all of baseball. And you know what's funny with Jaron Duran is I think the notion or whatever surrounding Jaron Duran, the discourse around him, 1 year guy, right? Kind of just did it last year. Not really, at least offensively. In 2023, 828 OPS, 120 WRC plus, still stole 24 bases, hit 295. And now he only hit 8 home runs, but he did have 34 doubles. And do we remember with Jaron Duran when he dropped that ball on August 7th, 2022? And people were like, get rid of him. Even Red Sox fans, I mean, DFA this guy. Get him out of town. Barely played, sat on the bench. I think it lit an incredible fire under this guy's ass. From 2023 to 2024, Jaron Duran has the same F WAR as Kyle Tucker. Fernando Tatis Jr. has a 123 WRC plus in that span. Jaron Duran 126. There have been defensive improvements, right? His outs above average from 2023, 56th percentile, 95th percentile. His arm value, 28th percentile. Wet noodle, not anymore, 87th percentile. But that's not all. Plate discipline improvements, highest walk rate of his career, lowest strikeout rate of his career. All of it's trending in the right direction. I think Jaron Duran dropping that ball in center field, I know this is all conjecture, it's just a guess, but I'm following the data here, was the best thing for this guy's career. He was like, am I going to have a job? I need to kick it into high gear. And
Yep.
since then, has been one of the best players in baseball. Not best corner outfielders, has been one of the best players in baseball. And now he's 28 years old, coming off a 6.5 win season that he absolutely deserved. Batted ball metrics are good. Great base runner, elite fielder, great arm, close to a 5 tool player. I know that sounds crazy, but all the tools are there for him.
It's not crazy. Like he is a physical specimen, and that was not just genetics. He works for that. I watched that video. Did you watch that video of Liam from the Bat Boys working out with Duran? By the way, great job,
No,
Liam. But like
no.
they did a. I'm going through Jaron Duran's like effectively day in the life, and the weight training was just insane. Like he
Oh, yeah, I've seen the weight training. I thought you were talking about.
No,
Um,
weight training, cardio, all that stuff. Like they went through a Jaron Duran workout, and like a Jaron Duran workout would have me maybe in the back of an ambulance. Like he puts in work, man.
and doesn't that make everybody listening like the guy more? I mean,
Yeah.
just a grinder,
Yeah,
grinder to
and then I
get
think the
here.
hot mic moment might have knocked him down a couple pegs, but
Forgot about that shit.
did you
Forgot
forget?
about that.
Yeah, did you forget about it?
You know,
He
every guy has
is.
their problems.
There are very few players in the game that I think are downright electrifying. I think that we throw that word around a lot for very good players. Kyle Tucker is not an electrifying player. He's not an electrifying talent. I think Jaron Duran is electrifying. There are very few guys that are like that. He led the league in triples, dude. He had what, 14 triples? He led the league in doubles and triples. I mean, this guy, he's going to pepper the monster as a left-handed hitter. He's going to find that triangle in center and he's going to sneak him like wrapping around the right field wall and he's going to be off to the races. He makes all the sense in the world for an extension. If
Oh
they
yeah,
want to do this, he should be handling the monster defensively for the next 8 to 10 years out there. I think you should pay him until he's in his mid to late 30s. 8 year deal, 7 year deal would make a lot of sense for me if I was Boston looking at Jaron Duran.
totally agree with you. And you're talking about him finding the gaps, right? Yeah, that the corner,
It's
the
it's
green
it,
monster.
they're the most unique dimensions in baseball, and he uses them to his advantage like nobody else in the game.
And when he peppers singles, he's still in second too. So
Yeah,
most of the time, you're going to get him on second base
yeah.
while playing again great defense. Like this guy is, he's turning into one of the freakish talents, and it's all a testament to his hard work. Like, good for you, Jaron Duran. And I also want to say one thing too. People might roll their eyes at this, but I should say this. And it is true, and I do believe it. I just said that the thing that Jaron Duran said, everyone has their own problems. We cannot condone that language. We just can't.
No, no.
So I was joking around about it. That is not good. But on this podcast, we try our best to just talk about what's on the field. And what's on the field with Jaron Duran has been nothing short of special. But of clearly, I do not condone the language that it used.
Yeah. Fair. All right. Do we get to number five?
Let's get to number 5.
Before we do that, quick break. Number five on our best corner outfielders in Major League Baseball for 2025 is Fernando Tatis Jr., of the San Diego Padres. Tatis was hurt for a bit, 102 games, but he slashed 276, 340, 492. In 102 games, Tatis had 21 homers, 49 RBIs. He swiped 11 bags. He had a 135 WRC plus and a 3.2 F4. I had him at 5. So did everybody except Fink. What are we doing? We know that this guy can be a platinum glove level right fielder a year removed from playing shortstop. Like, he will have no problem. He is much like Duran, an electrifying talent. He might be the most electrifying player in Major League Baseball. The way he plays the game is so fun to watch. It's addicting to watch. The amount of late night games that I turned on in San Diego and having Don and Mud just walk me through Fernando Tatis has been so much fun, and I will continue to do it. Nobody can stop me. We're waiting for it all to click again. I think that's probably health related. Because if this guy plays 162, you understood the A Rod comps when he put up, what was it, a 6.8 F4 in 2022?
But people are going to say that steroids had something to do with it. People will say that.
We
And
don't
then what
know.
they will point to is 2023. He was a 112 WRC plus guy. The defense in right field was phenomenal. He was still great, right? 25 bombs, 29 steals, still a great player, but not the 158 or 151 WRC plus or even the 151 WRC plus he put up before that. And then 2024, again, he was very solid, got injured a little bit, 135 WRC plus, but then we saw him in the playoffs and he was still good. He's a very good player. But I totally understand where Fink is coming from, ranking Jaron Duran and Jackson Chorio over him, because since that suspension, this is not the same Tatis that we remember. Now, I think what you and I, Aram, why we ranked him fifth is we're looking at some batted ball metrics that tell us he kind of is right back to where he was. Not quite, but at least very, very close. But what I think is overcoming us is the aura when we watch the games.
I'm drunk on Tatis aura.
I'm drunk on Tatis Aura too. We can't help it. Like when I watch him play, I mean, I get a similar vibe to when I watch Ellie De La Cruz play, like Ketel Marte. I'm just I feel like a little kid watching a superhero play baseball. Like they're such freak talents and so enjoyable to watch. Like Jaron Duran might put up better numbers. Jackson Chorio probably is going to put up better numbers. But Tatis is such a joy to watch play on the field. But if we're looking at the numbers, like I think Duran has the argument over him. I think Chorio has the argument over him. So unless you're overcome with aura, I think you might have Duran and Chorio over him. So I understand where he's coming from here, but
I'm drunk on aura.
I'm drunk in aura, and I'm so impressed by Tatis that he did go to right field and became platinum.
Yeah.
Like I think that kind of goes under the radar here with Tatis's development is that he wasn't a great shortstop defensively. He was getting a lot of shit for him, and he said, "Fine, I'll change positions," and became the best at it. Like that's awesome, and that shows a buy-in as well. Because right, we talk about Ronald Acuna Jr. Freakish talent. You should be the best right fielder in baseball. You could throw 110 miles an hour from right field, and you're faster than everyone. Why aren't you good? Tatis the buy-in, which I appreciate, and it clearly showed up in his numbers offensively this season. But of course, he got hurt. So I think he's going to come back next year and be awesome. But I think the ship has sailed on him being like top 3 in MVP voting, like that kind of player. I'm
Okay,
not
so
sold he's right there, even though we ranked him the same spot. I think you're more bullish on that. I'm just, I don't know if that's still in the tank anymore. I don't know if like 45 jacks is in the tank. I think he's going to be a
He
30-30 guy while playing elite defense in right field, and I feel good about that. That's why I'm at 5, but I think you want to put him higher than he is at 5.
Yeah, he turned 26 last month. I mean,
Yeah.
we've gone through so many different iterations of Fernando Tatis Jr., and he's 26 years old. He has 2 or 3 more years of the Luis Robert treatment for me, where like you could convince me he's going to win MVP this year, and I'm like, yeah, I agree.
I mean, to be fair to that point, I'm like still somewhat believing in Luis Robert. So I'm still
Yeah,
there for
yeah,
him. Why wouldn't I
exactly.
be
It's
there
like,
for
oh yeah, he
Tatis?
could totally win the MVP this year.
Of
And then,
course he
yeah,
could.
no doubt, no
Yeah,
doubt.
I was thinking about if he got traded to Cincinnati, Luis Robert to Cincinnati. I was like, I'm picking him for MVP. He's going to go 40-40,
Yeah,
even though
problem is
I've no
Otani's back on the
evidence to
mound
say
this year.
so.
Yeah,
I have no evidence for that. I just
I
it's
understand.
a feel, and I feel like Tatis, we're getting a little bit emotional with him.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I'll let my emotion play by ranking
That's
him
fine.
5.
We're
I'm
humans.
totally fine with that.
We're
And
human
listen,
beings.
I think there's a world where Chorio and Langford jump him when we come back for the 26 rankings
I like how you're sneakily including Langford in all these conversations, and
because he
I'm not.
should be in these
And have you
conversations.
noticed that I haven't said a word yet? I haven't said a word. I agree with you.
He should be in these
The
conversations.
reel that we posted on our Instagram and on our TikTok that you and Arm were going back and forth
Yeah.
on Langford. I'm like, I think I got to place an MVP future tomorrow. I mean, it fired me up so much. I'm like, yes,
He's
yes,
amazing. He's
yes.
amazing. I think that we are going to be spoiled. And when we look at the top three, or I guess the runoff because Clark was 3. When we look at, dude, just the top 5 in general from that 23 class. I mean, in 10 years, we could look back at Skeens, Cruz, Clark, Langford, and Walker Jenkins. That could be an all-time top 5.
Yeah. But we are talking about Tatis here, and he is very good.
Yeah, he's really good. But we don't have to keep talking about Tatis. We can actually jump to number 4 if you want.
And number 4, Kyle Tucker, the new Chicago Cub. So I've gone over the stat before, but I just love it so much that I'm going to go over it again. Last 4 years, there are 2 players with at least 100 home runs and 80 stolen bases who have also put up an 875 OPS over their last 4 seasons. That's Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Tucker. Now, last year, Kyle Tucker got hurt, right? Not ideal. But in those 78 games, he was a fucking monster. 289, 408, 585. 23 homers in 78 games with 11 bags. He walked more than he struck out with a 180 WRC plus, and he put up a 4.2 F WAR. Were you on the episode with me when we were talking top 10 center fielders, or was that Aram?
I think it was me.
Remember when I was glazing Byron Buxton for 4.1 F WAR in 61 games? And I was like,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker, like, kind of did that. Kyle Tucker kind of did that. And he doesn't look like Byron Buxton like a gazelle, but he plays like one, right? Since the start of the 2022 season, Kyle Tucker has a higher WRC plus than Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. More home runs, too. Clears him by 3 wins. Since 2023, he's 7th at WRC plus, higher than Freddie Freeman, right behind Mookie Betts. That's the level of player. Now, what Astros fans are going to point to, Peter, postseason woes. Not great in the playoffs. And that is true. And I've seen a lot of ground outs to the second baseman. I have. Those are Kyle Tucker's weaknesses. But in the regular season, like, this is why I don't think that he's some wimp or at least cowers in the biggest moments. He has the 3rd best high leverage WRC plus in the last 4 years at 190. We know about WRC plus, and that's factored into high leverage situations, right? Situations that have the highest impact on the game's outcome. Kyle Tucker's 3rd. So, I think in the postseason, there have just been, sometimes guys can go out of whack. I don't think, like, if the Cubs make the postseason, I'm not looking at Kyle Tucker as a guy who has postseason woes. I'm looking at a guy who hasn't shown it yet, and he will because he's that level of player. So Kyle Tucker, there's no real holes to poke in his game other than he had a shin injury that it felt like it took him 4 years to come back from. And that's why he only played in 78 games last year. So that'd be the reason to dock him. He doesn't have a great postseason record, and he was played only half a season last year. And he hits too many ground balls to the second baseman. Those are his issues. Everything else he's awesome at. Not just good, awesome. That's my Kyle Tucker pitch. Awesome.
Somebody's already loading up the Brinks truck. I don't know who it is, but somebody's already doing it,
I
and
pay him a
they're going to
fuck
back it up
ton.
for him.
I
It's going to
pay him a
be
ton.
it's going to be an absurd amount of money. Is it your
Yeah.
Yanks?
I mean, Hal Steinbrenner saying he can't compete with the Dodgers because it's too hard. So no, I don't think so. I
Who's
hope,
giving him the
please.
back? Give me your initial guesstimate right now on February 4th as we're recording. What's the value for Kyle Tucker next offseason?
So Kyle Tucker is going to be, I think he's going to be 29 next offseason, or is he going to be 30?
He's going to be
He's
29.
28 now, so 29 turning 30, but let's say his age 29 season.
Yeah.
So what would I pay Kyle Tucker from age 29 to age 39? 400,
Hmm.
probably more. I mean,
He just turned 28 on January 17th.
yeah,
So
so
he'll
it's really
sign the
going to be
deal as a 28-year-old.
400, maybe more. I mean, it's tough because it's like Bobby Witt Jr. signed a contract in the threes, but he also bypassed arbitration. So on the open market, he would get like, I think he'd get more than Soto at this point, but that's for another time. I'm just thinking about the biggest contracts in baseball right now. Like, what would I give Kyle Tucker, who's good at everything and is young, and his game is going to continue to get better, I think, or at least stay the same for a while?
Yeah.
400. What would you give him?
First offer would be 350,
Yeah, and
and
then it'd be
I
like, no.
would,
And you'd be like, all right, fine, I'll give you more. I
yeah,
gave
I would probably
you.
cap it at 425, I think.
Yeah, I think. I
Like
mean,
who
if
makes more
he's at the
money? I think Tucker versus Vladdy in total money is going to be a really interesting conversation.
because Vladdy's younger and has more upside, I think,
A
with the
better
bat.
bat.
I
Yeah.
do, but Tucker's way better
Tucker's all around.
defensively.
Tucker is as well-rounded a player as we have in Major League
I'd
Baseball.
rather have Kyle Tucker on my team, I think, for the
I
next
think.
10 years. I think.
I think. Again, it's going to be a really interesting conversation when it comes to total money.
Because age gets thrown in there too.
How valuable are 2, 3 more years of youth?
Yeah,
2 years?
pretty valuable. I mean,
Pretty
pretty damn
darn
valuable.
valuable.
Yeah. And the fact that we're even saying it's close is just a testament to Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
Cubs, you guys got such a good one. I mean, he's going to be so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I
It'd be
mean,
excited, man.
no, think about it. I mean, you've been, a White Sox fan for your entire life, but also a big time enjoyer of the Chicago Cubs. Tell Cubs fans kind of what they're getting because I don't know how often they're truly watching Kyle Tucker over there in Houston. Like, compare it to the best players you've seen on the Cubs.
I mean, you go back to the guys that you love, like he's not Sosa, obviously, because Sosa would hit 70 homers, but
Yeah.
um, he's probably the best outfielder that many young Cubs fans have ever seen. And I'm thinking about like Chris Bryant's MVP year. It was just a different type of player. Prime Rizzo is a different type of player. This is a more valuable player than Prime Rizzo ever was. Aramis Ramirez had some great years. Derek Lee hit 40 homers. Shout out Ethan Badowski for that one. But like, I don't know. It's unique, and you got the tail end of Soriano. I don't think many Cubs fans our age have ever seen something like Kyle Tucker. And assuming he plays 150 games, you could be looking at one of the best seasons by WAR that a Cubs outfielder has put together in the last 40 years.
Yeah, I'm just looking back because I was like, Chris Bryant in 2016 when he won his MVP. Chris Bryant put up a 7.3 WAR, hit 39 home runs, put up a 939 OPS, a 146 OPS plus. So that's probably the best offensive player the Cubs have had probably since Sosa, or at least the most maybe prolific.
Probably.
Is that fair? Well,
I would think so.
Well, Kyle Tucker's already put up 3 5-win seasons and he's put up WRC plus numbers twice that rival that. So it's like that's the type of player you're getting. You just traded for
You all right? You okay? I'm not cutting this. I'm not cutting it.
I don't know what happened.
I'm not cutting it.
Coughing
I'm
fit.
looking at B War. Like Sosa put up a 10-win season, and recent memory. I mean, Ryan Sandberg, Derek Lee put up a 7.7 B War season in 2005. Chris Bryant 7.3 in 2016, which you pointed out. So I mean, we're talking about Derek Lee, Chris Bryant level offensive production. Javi Baez in 2019 was a 6.5 win player. It's probably the best talent that you've had since 2019 Baez.
Yeah. Like that's the guy that you guys just traded for, who has the opportunity, right, to build on a season where he put up a 180 WRC plus in
Yeah.
78 games. Like
And
he's
and
coming off
think
his
about
most
this.
productive 78 game stretch as well, and now is 28.
And think about this. I know you might only get 1 year of him, but you gave up a guy that was not on your team before this past year's deadline, in Isaac Paredes. You gave up a guy that was not on your team, not in your organization before last year's draft. And you gave up a guy that was effectively phased out of the pitching staff in its entirety in Wesneski. Like there was a chance that Wesneski was just going to start in Iowa if he had an option remaining. So you gave up Paredes, you gave up Cam Smith, and you gave up Wesneski. Like you did not deplete the core whatsoever for maybe a top 7 to 10 player in Major League Baseball this year.
And I want to further your point and also give some credence to the Astros. So to the Astros fans, like you got a lot for Kyle Tucker.
Got a lot.
A lot for Kyle Tucker. To Cubs fans, we just laid out what Kyle Tucker has done in his career. He's never been motivated by a contract year before when he knows that after a guy got 765 million,
Yeah.
now he's going to be the next guy on the market at 28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
Imagine the season he's going to have. So if I'm a
Yeah.
Cubs fan, what I'm expecting, right, and maybe he could soar higher than this, is a Chris Bryant level 2016 bat with better defense. Have fun, Chicago. You're going to have fun.
You're gonna have a lot of fun.
A lot of
Let's
fun.
jump to number three, pardon. And this is a respect thing, especially because Mark Bowman, I was reading an article that said he's probably going to miss the first 4 to 6 weeks, but out of respect for this guy, he can be no lower than three. Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves is number three. And you could say, well, come on, he was a 1 win player. Yeah, 49 games, 250, 351, 365. Only hit 4 homers in those 49 games, swept 16 bags. He walked 12.5% of the time. He had a 105 WRC plus. It was not right. Then he tore his ACL in early June in Pittsburgh. Acuna went 40-70 in 2023. Again, out of respect, he can be no lower than three. And nobody had him any lower than four. Fink had him at four. Aram had him at four. Rest of us had him at three. You have to do it. And, like, okay, say he comes back. He needs some time. I still think he could hit 30 homers, and I still think he could swipe 40 bags over the course of 5 months. Um, he's a generational talent that we need to appreciate. And I know the hot and cold, all that, it factors into the Ronald Acuna experience, but the Ronald Acuna experience is valuable.
Ronald Acuna Jr. put up a 9.1 F4 in 2023. Shohei Ohtani put up a 9.1 F4 in 2024.
As a DH. So I think that's more of a testament to Ohtani.
But wasn't Ronald Acuna Jr. that year kind of a DH basically because the defense killed his WAR?
Defense was such a net zero.
Yeah, that it killed his WAR, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I was okay bringing up the Shohei Ohtani comparison because you're right. The WAR killed, or the DH gets killed by WAR, but so does really bad defense, and that's what Ronald Acuna Jr. did.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I'm worried about Acuna because you know, we can talk about the freak talent that he is. We all know
When
it's
he
there.
came back from the last ACL, he did not look good. Is that what you're going to point out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first time he came back from the ACL, 2022 was his worst year in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Right? It's so funny. In 2020, he played 46 games and put up a 2.2 F4 because he's a freak and he's amazing. And then 2021, he was awesome, but then tore his ACL and then came back the next year, put up a 2.4 F4 in 119 games. Right? The bags are still going to be there. Right? But the home runs kind of weren't. Only 15. A second ACL tear. We're putting him here again, to your point, out of respect, but I just don't. I don't think he's going to have that great of a year next year. And again, it's not really his fault. It's just you're going to be rehabbing, getting the body right off of a torn ACL, like just twisting on that knee. he might not be able to hit that 121 mile an hour home run that he did off Emmett Sheehan. That was
Yeah.
out before we could even blink. But
Yeah.
that's what Acuna can do when right. Is he can hit the ball as hard as Giancarlo Stanton, run as fast as anybody in the game, throw the ball from right field as fast as anybody in the game, can do everything from a tool perspective at the highest possible level that we have seen from baseball players. But what happens when you tear your ACL twice? So that's why, like, if I'm a Braves fan, I'm expecting a bounce back from Austin Riley. I'm expecting a bounce back from Michael Harris. I'm expecting Ozzie Albies to get right back to it. I'm expecting Matt Olson to be better. I don't know if I'm expecting Ronald Acuna Jr. to be the guy that he was. Like, if he puts up a 4.5 win season, I think you're pretty happy with that because our evidence from the first one
Yeah.
was half of a 4.5 win season.
Right. And then you want the 9-win season in 26.
Yes,
Yeah. It's just, again, I think this was a respect ranking.
it is. And this is how much we respect him.
Yeah.
Like, we just all just put him at 3 because he deserves it.
Because he's Acuna. Like, you're
He's
Acuna.
Acuna.
This is you.
This is you. Like, in terms of a talent, you're as talented as anybody in the game.
Yeah.
Like, pure talent. I mean, there's like one or two. Otani.
Otani's here, but then it's like Acuna and Bobby Witt are probably here.
Exactly. And he's
And
third on our
Judge
corner.
is there. Yeah.
Yeah, Acuna
It's
more
weird because like you
talented.
got the all around talent, but like
Yeah.
Judge hit 58 homers this
Yeah.
year. Like,
He put up an 11.5 win season. Yeah,
yeah, like
Judge is
and
right
it
there, but
wasn't, it wasn't the amazing year that we're talking about him breaking Maris's record, but it was just better.
right, like who else is super talented? Ellie De La Cruz, right? He led the league in strikeouts and he led the league in errors. Like there are just holes in his game. Like Acuna didn't have that except for the defense, which
errors are yeah,
all of us are together saying you could be way better. Like just be better because you
yeah,
are.
yeah,
It's a buy-in thing.
right.
It does piss me off. Should
Also, maybe the 30th time that I'm mentioning that, like, errors when judging Ellie are probably not fair because he gets to so many baseballs that
100%.
no normal human being should get to, like, yada yada.
Yes, 100%. But still not good.
Still not good.
Still not good. But I feel bad for him because I want to see 41 home runs, 73 stolen bases while hitting 337.
I understand. I understand.
That's insane. All right, number two. Number two, I think everybody knows it now, or maybe you don't. Juan Soto of the New York Mets, the $765 million man, coming off another Hall of Fame caliber season. 288, 419, 569, 41 jacks, 109 RBIs, walked more than he struck out with a 180 WRC plus, right? We're talking about Kyle Tucker doing that in 78 games, how amazing it is. Soto did it over an entire season with an 8.1 F4. So, as a Yankee fan, I got the opportunity to watch Juan Soto hit every day. And what came out of it from my mouth, especially speaking to my dad, who agrees with me, lifelong Yankee fan, the best operator of an at bat that I have ever seen. I don't mean the most productive hitter I've ever seen, because the most productive hitters I've ever seen, Alex Rodriguez, Aaron Judge, but the best hitters to operate in that bat, I think of guys like Albert Pujols. I think of guys like Miguel Cabrera. And what I mean by that is this. Since 1900, Ted Williams is the highest walk rate of all time. Barry Bonds is second. You have Max Bishop in there, who played from 1924 to 1935. Shout out Max Bishop. You have Babe Ruth coming in at number 4. You have John McGraw, who went into the Hall of Fame as a manager. He played 17 years from 1891 to 1907. And then Juan Soto. But it's not just about the fact that he walks so much.
Yeah.
Max Muncy walks a lot. I don't view him as the best operator of an at-bat. When Juan Soto decides to swing, because he has the best eye in Major League Baseball, so anything off the corners, he's just not going to swing at. So when you throw it in the zone, he's in the 98th percentile of average exit velocity and the 99th percentile in hard hit rate. The best swing decisions in Major League Baseball some of the best swing decisions of all time combined with the hardest contact in Major League Baseball, or at least in a small handful of guys. That's what I mean by operating it at bat. You, he really, the only way you can kind of get him out is you have to be perfect within the zone. You have to be perfect. Other guys, you don't have to necessarily be absolutely perfect. Juan Soto, you have to be perfect. And he's going to be 26 years old. I mean, we've talked about his Hall of Fame candidacy. We've compared his WAR to all-time greats. But I just wanted to reiterate the point that it was such a joy watching him for 162.
Yeah,
Such a joy watching him in the playoffs. I'm
yeah,
going to miss that man so much. I am not one of these Yankee fans where it's like, well, we can just, create a better team without Juan Soto and sign this and that. And then maybe so. But we lost Juan Soto. We lost him, and I'm still in pain from it. He's the best ABs. It was so much fun watching him every day.
yeah. He turned 26 on October 25th. So during the CS, I think was Juan Soto's 26th birthday. Saw this from Sarah Lang. She grabbed notable Pacoda projections. Soto is gunning for, at 26, his age 26 season, his eighth straight season with a 400 OBP.
There you go.
He's played 7 years through his age 25 season, and he has a 400 OBP in all 7 years. And it could be his fifth season with 25 or more homers and 125 or more walks.
And
Like,
as players mature, as they grow older, do you think their ability to see pitches will get better or worse?
better,
Better.
and I think Soto's going to see fewer pitches to hit just because he's Juan Soto.
But
Also,
even
we
with
got to factor in that,
protection with Lindor, and if they sign Pete Alonso, that should be enough protection to get him enough
yeah,
pitches in the zone. And then
yeah,
with those pitches in the zone, he's going to be in the 99th percentile of hitting the ball hard.
I think the other thing to factor in here is that, he's coming off of his two highest home run totals of his career. Now,
And he got
granted,
unlucky based on batted ball metrics. If we look at the
yeah,
WOBA to xWOBA math equation,
yeah.
technically got unlucky.
Like his age 20 season, it's funny looking back on that 2019 season. The guy had 34 homers and 110 RBIs as a 20-year-old, but 35 and 109 in 23, 41 and 109 in 24. Like, why can't he be 40, 110 RBIs and a 420 on base for the next decade? Like,
Yeah.
damn, dude.
And then his postseason numbers, he's played 43 postseason games, slashing 281, 389, 538 for a 150 WRC plus. So he does get a little bit worse in the playoffs, 158 down to 150.
Yeah, darn.
And I'm smiling for everybody on YouTube. If you listen to that, I'm obviously joking. That is fucking awesome.
Right.
Yeah, and people give him shit about the defense. Like, he's not a good defensive right fielder. People make fun of the gold glove stuff. Yeah, like, I have no idea why he got it either. He does have a cannon. I will give that to him. Statcast acknowledges it. Arm value is very, very high. A lot of runners thrown out at the plate. I still remember that one that he threw out against the Astros. I jumped out of my couch. Like, that was my World Series, sweeping the Astros in the first series of the year. I'm like, this is the perfect player. Then forever since then, I just fell in love with him. But yeah, the defense, at least range wise, is not great. But he still has a cannon, and like, who cares? Because he's like the best hitter we've ever seen.
I'm with you. All right. Last but not least, last but best, actually. Aaron Judge of the Yankees. Are you surprised he's the number one corner outfielder in Major League Baseball? Soto was the consensus number two, Judge the consensus number one. All six of us had him at one. 158 games for Aaron Judge. 322, 458, 701 slash line, 58 home runs, 144 runs driven in, 10 bags, an 18.9% walk rate, a 218 WRC plus, and an 11.2 wins season. Do you have anything to add on Judge? He's perfect.
Perfect. He plays center if he wants to. I can't believe how good he is at center. Like, remember when we were talking about that and about him moving over to center, and even right, we're all like, well, he's gonna get hurt. You can't put him in center. It's a 6'7", 280 guy. Like, you can't put LeBron at center. in center. Like it just doesn't make any sense to our pea brains. And what does he do? He plays 105 games out there and looks great.
Yeah.
Now I know people are going to say, "Well, what about that drop ball in the playoffs?" I know, and I'm pissed that
No,
I brought it up to
do
myself.
the voice. But what about the?
But when you about to drop fly ball, I remember it broke my heart. But if we can forget that, and I can't, but we're going to try, goes out there and plays great defense there. I mean, he can do everything. He can do everything. He hits for the most power, right, per plate appearance lately than freaking Barry Bonds. I mean, it's since Bonds. I mean, 2022, 62 home runs beat Roger Maris's record while putting up a 206 WRC plus. That's 106% better than the league average hitter with an 11-win season. Then 2023, he's on pace to just crush. I mean, he's got 37 home runs at 106 games, and he runs into a wall, right? Breaks his foot or fractures his toe, whatever happened. And then in 2024, he comes back and he's like, "Yep, I'm still that guy. 58 home runs in 158 games." That's the thing about Judge too. It's like we talk about maybe there's injury concerns, right? That's what we remember from the early parts of his career. 2018 plays 112, 2019 plays 102, gets hurt in 2020, but 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, he's had three straight healthy or three of four healthy seasons. He's playing every day too.
And the only reason he wasn't healthy in 2023 is because he ran into a cement like wall
The
in LA.
Dodgers rigged it. They rigged it. Just like the
The
refs are
Dodgers
rigging shit
hurt
for
Aaron Judge.
on purpose. I know they did. No, obviously not.
But like that's not a wear and tear thing. That was a freak accident that caused him
Freak
to miss
accident.
time. So it's
So
like he's been healthy over the last 4 years.
no, I mean, putting even Aaron Judge on a positional list is kind of dumb because what we're looking at right now, obviously it's not dumb, it's what we do, but it's Otani than Judge.
Yeah,
Best two players in
so to
baseball.
not spoil Peter Apple's top 100 players, which I think I've scheduled for Friday, March 14th, but Peter Apple's top 100 has to be just Otani 1, Judge 2, and then
Yeah,
I think the conversation starts at 3.
exactly. Then we'll talk. But that was, I mean, that was the easiest first two names being punched in. Otani, Judge. Like,
Yeah.
like Judge
Do
is the
we
best
already
hitter.
have it in drafts?
Not in drafts. It's on a Google Doc because I don't want
It's on a
anybody
Google
seeing it.
Doc.
I
Okay,
want you guys
gotcha.
to. I want you guys to be fresh. Obviously, I'll give you some ammo beforehand. You'll be like, "Well, it's number 77, Peter. You said on August 4th that this
Yeah.
guy." Yeah, I understand. We're gonna go head to head, and it's
I'm
going to be an
gonna use
absolute blast.
ChatGPT to just out you for everything you've ever said.
Yeah, which is fair. But what I will say about Judge is, I wanted to come to everybody with all these different stats about how amazing he is, but it's just like we all get it. I mean, just look at the man's Fangraphs and watch the man play. He's
Yeah.
the most productive hitter I have ever seen. And right to compare to Alex Rodriguez too, because when I mentioned productive hitters, right, Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols,
Yeah.
I mean Alex Rodriguez never put up a 200 WRC plus in a season. He never did. Judge has now done it twice.
Trout has one.
I don't think so.
Let me see.
Yeah, you look up Trout. I'm looking up Albert Pujols. Pujols also never did it.
Trout has never done it.
Miguel Cabrera has also never done it. 193 was his best. That's where we're at. So when I say most productive hitter I've ever seen, the numbers back it up.
Hmm.
Twice. Not once, twice. That's where we're at. Second
Aaron
best player in
Judge.
baseball. And the only reason that Otani is better is because he can pitch. But if it was
This
just Otani's bat, Judge is the best player in baseball.
this is so funny. I'm just gonna read you the top 15 in career WRC plus.
Okay.
Josh Gibson with a 202.
Deserved.
Babe Ruth 194, Ted Williams 187, Oscar Charleston 181, Willard Brown 177, Buck Leonard 175. Aaron Judge is seventh with a 173. He's tied with Turkey Stearns and Barry Bonds. Judge has a 173 WRC plus. Bonds had a career 173 WRC plus. Lou Gehrig a 171, Rogers Hornsby 170, Mickey Mantle 170, Mike Trout 169, Mule Suttles 167, and 15th is Yordan Alvarez at 166.
Love Jordan. No, I was like, where do I rank Jordan? Because I was like,
Yeah,
is
I
he a
know.
top 10 player in baseball?
I
But
know.
Yeah, so for any Yankee fan listening, you can definitively tell everybody you know, and you can even tell like the oldest Yankee fan you know that Aaron Judge is the best hitter you have ever seen.
Yeah.
Kind of sick.
Okay. Give it to me now. Top six among active players in career WRC plus.
Oh, you want me to guess it?
Yeah.
Um, is there like a games played requirement?
Minimum that I'm looking at here. I mean, 10th has played 343 games.
10th has played 343. Okay, so that's like a two-season guy. Um, okay, I will
So you know,
go.
Judge is one.
Yeah, Judge is obviously one. I will go Jordan two.
No, it's Trout two, Jordan three. Those are the three that
Okay.
I mentioned.
Okay. Um, Otani.
Otani's fifth.
Um, Soto.
Soto is fourth. So you got the top five.
I'm gonna go Altuve.
Altuve is 19th.
Not even close.
Um,
I'm gonna
it's
go
gonna be tough. Harper six,
Harper.
Freeman seven, Acuna eight, Mookie nine, Gunnar Henderson 10.
Gunnar Henderson 10.
But Gunnar Henderson only has 343 games under his belt. So we got. You got anything else on Judge or no?
Nothing else on Judge. Just the best hitter we have all ever seen.
Yep. So 10 was Riley Green of the Tigers, 9 Teoscar Hernandez of the LA Dodgers. 8 was who was 8? Stephen Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians, 7 Jackson Chorio of the Brewers, 6 Jaron Duran of the Red Sox, 5 Fernando Tatis of the Padres, 4 Kyle Tucker of the Cubs, 3 Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves, 2 Juan Soto of the newest Met, and number 1 was Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees. I got a last word. You ready for it?
Let's hear it.
For the video game crowd, I just watched the gameplay trailer for MLB The Show 25. Did you
Hmm.
watch it?
No,
Looks awesome. Like,
really.
this is as excited as I've been for a video game since, I mean, NCAA Football 25 might be my favorite video game in the history of video games. Like, that was
Really.
bringing back 10-year-old me was so important. And they did that perfectly. But aside from that, like this is as excited as I've ever been for a baseball video game. They added college teams. You get the ping
Really.
in MLB The Show. Yeah, you get to play college ball in Road to the Show.
Because I think MLB The Show has gotten a lot of shit lately.
It
Or at least
has.
from
It
people I
has.
follow on social media, they've been crushing the game, saying that the updates aren't there. And I don't really play video games, and it's not because of any other reason other than I suck at them. Just always been horrible at
It,
video games.
it's a nice for me. It's a nice wind down. Like I love it at the end of a long day. Like get back from calling a game or something like that. I'll play the show for 20 minutes.
I'm a documentary watcher.
Yeah,
Yeah, just love a good documentary.
I get it.
But yeah, I mean, I'll play with you. We'll go head to head.
Okay. I cheat though. I don't do like the weird like follow the tracer for the pitch and like I
We'll,
don't do the
we'll play
PCI
on
thing.
rookie ball. We'll play on rookie mode, you
Yeah,
versus
and like
me.
all I do is like I make it button, so like I just have to time it up and it's like
That's
swing.
perfect.
Like,
You're a perfect person to play. If you mean, yeah, I don't want to do all those fancy other things, but
no, I don't want to do any of the fancy stuff. I'm like swing. And it's if we're playing each other and you're not throwing 100% strikes, I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm like, don't do that.
yeah, I'll throw 100% strikes as long as you do too. All right,
Yeah,
we got a deal.
absolutely.
All right, for
Absolutely.
everybody listening, hopefully you enjoyed the show. And if you did, the best way again to support, subscribe on YouTube, like the video, comment what you think about our top 10 list, as well as show some love on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Rate and review 5 stars, following us. Best way to support the show without spending a dime. And if you got a couple shekels left over, go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. You know, I'm rocking the hat. And we have so much good stuff in the merch store. We actually sold out of the athletic tees, and we got some comments on our last post asking for those to come back. For everybody looking for those athletic long sleeve tees, one of my favorite shirts, um, those will be back late. I think this week, Clay told us, or maybe early next week. Just be on the lookout for that. Um, for Jack McClellan, I'm Peter Apple. Top pitchers are coming up, and we're going to have Walker Bueller on to discuss. So be on the lookout for that. Again, for Jack, I'm Peter. We'll see you on Friday. And with that, thank you, everybody.